Hey, what's up you guys? So today I'm going to be talking about an app that probably none of you have heard of before. It's called Instagram. Now, I've hesitated to talk about Instagram on my channel before because my Instagram handle has my last name in it. For some reason, even though my Instagram is public, I didn't want to use my last name on YouTube. Now that I'm trying to sort of cross-promote my channel, I feel like it only makes sense to reveal it. So before you guys watch the video, go ahead and follow me on Instagram. My name is HaleyWalker_. It'll be a lot more helpful to me to have some of you guys following me there because I do sometimes ask questions about what videos I should film, and a lot of my friends don't watch my videos, so I mean, a lot of them do. I'm not trying to like shade my friends or anything, but you know, it's helpful to have the YouTube people connected. So in this video, I'm basically going to be giving you guys some tips for how to take really great Instagram pictures and also how to arrange them, how to build a feed. I'm not going to be talking about how to grow on Instagram necessarily. As of yet, I'm not a big influencer or anything like that, although I am doing 2 brand deals really soon, and they're not just like shitty nothing brands. They're like actually brands that I respect and have wanted to buy things from before, so very excited about that. First, I want to talk about how to actually take the photo. If you want to go the take the photo yourself route, you can get an iPhone tripod. I have one that's attached to a ring light. I really only use it for my depop photos. I'm kind of scared if I like set it up on the streets of New York City, someone's just gonna like steal my iPhone. So I'm kind of stuck with asking someone else to take my photo. That can be kind of difficult if maybe your friends aren't as into taking photos, or maybe you don't have any friends and you're just asking a stranger on the street. That's where these tips are gonna come in handy. I came up with this handy little acronym called SLAP: setting, framing, lighting, angle, and pose. The first thing you want to do when you're taking a photo is find a good setting. The setting might be dependent on what your Instagram feed looks like, what your personal brand is. These terms kind of make my skin crawl, but at the same time, I understand the necessity of adopting these terms, adopting these practices if you want to grow on Instagram. Right now, I feel like my personal brand involves a lot of like the urban cityscape, kind of less interested in going out and taking pictures in nature because, you know, I don't really have any nature to go out and take pictures in. When I'm considering a background, I like to find a place that A, has good lighting, B, matches the colors of my feed or matches the colors of my outfit. For example, I try to have like some foliage in a lot of my pictures. So if I'm looking for a location, I might try to pose in front of a building that also has some shrubbery next to it. That way there's always a little bit of green thrown in. So once I've selected my setting, I just take out my phone and kind of look around through the viewfinder at what I think is going to be an interesting frame. One mistake that I definitely used to make when I was first starting out Instagram was I would go for a flat wall. I would just find like a white wall or brick wall and take a photo in front of it, like with my back against the wall. Again, there's nothing wrong with that, but it doesn't make for a very dynamic feed. If you're scrolling through your feed and all of your photos are just straight on, plain background, it looks less engaging, if that makes sense. I try to think of all of my photos now as like a little world that someone might be able to jump in. So when you're scrolling through my feed, there's a lot of depth. If you guys are art history or regular art students, you probably know that during the Renaissance, there was this huge innovation in painting where people started using diagonal lines to illustrate depth in a 2-dimensional space. When you're taking an Instagram photo, one way to still create the illusion of 3 dimensions is to find diagonals in the world. So instead of taking a photo straight at a brick wall, stand a little bit away from the wall and have your friend or your tripod shoot at an angle. I'll insert an example of what I'm talking about. I took these pictures against a wall and, you know, the straight on ones were fine, the lighting looked good, but the photo itself wasn't very dynamic. It didn't look like you could just jump in. And then I got these, which I feel like were a little more exciting. So that's what I mean by framing. This is how you can take a person who doesn't really know anything about taking Instagram photos to take a really amazing one of you. If you're just going up to a stranger on the street, once you found your setting, found your frame, just give them the phone and say, here, take it just like this. Usually it'll work out. Now, the next point I wanted to make, which is very much tied in with setting and framing, is lighting. You usually don't want to take photos in really dim light or really really direct light. So if you're staring straight into the sun and it's not like golden hour, it's not sunset, it's not sunrise, one, it's gonna make you squint, but two, it'll kind of create these weird shadows on your face and on your body. If you can find a way to make it work, props to you. What I tend to look for is some sort of diffused lighting. What I mean by diffused is the light isn't coming directly at you. There's either some cloud cover or you're standing under some trees. Something is taking the direct hit. For example, to film this video right now, I have my iPhone in front of a window, so the lighting is being diffused by the building and the window. If you take a photo and you're not happy with the way it looks, try turning yourself and your camera around in the opposite direction to see if maybe the lighting looks better that way, or find an entirely different location and see if the light's different there. The other day, I was actually wearing this outfit. I was trying to get some photos before I went off to Fashion Week. The lighting was super direct, so first I tried taking some photos in sort of the shadow of my building. They were a little too dark. They weren't terrible, but I tried a few different locations until I finally found one I liked. I ended up with these that were taken right under some trees, so the trees were kind of diffusing the light. So then I'm gonna talk about angle. Obviously, I already covered angle a little bit when I was talking about finding the right framing for your photo, but with this, I specifically mean the angle with regards to your body. I think another thing that can make you unhappy with pictures that other people take of you is if the angle's not quite right. So I'm pretty short, not terribly short, but I'm 5'4", and I find it pretty unflattering when someone takes a photo from like above me. I just look like I have little stumpy legs. I know the super low angle has been trendy with other influencers, so I've become very partial to it. I think it makes your legs look really long. The other nice thing about the low angle is that you can take the photos yourself without a tripod. Just put your phone on the ground, balance it against something, and then voila. The last thing I will talk about in regards to taking good Instagram photos is pose. So again, pose is gonna be highly subjective to what you think looks good in regards to your body, your aesthetic, whatever. I think something pretty universal though is you want a pose that's kind of dynamic. And what I mean by that is if you're taking a photo straight on with your arms and legs at your sides, you're gonna look not that engaging. Just like your setting, you want your body to have some depth to it when you're posing. Instead of standing like this, kind of stand at an angle. Maybe you wanna put a hand in your hair. Maybe you want to pop your hip forward. Another tip that I've heard a lot of people say, one that I'm a huge fan of, put one foot in front of the other. And again, we'll just create this illusion of movement. It'll make you look like you're in a three-dimensional space, and it'll kind of elongate your legs if that's something that you want. The best way to figure out what poses you like is obviously to just practice. I do this all the time. I just go in front of my mirror, I try out new poses. So you found your setting, you got your framing, you have bomb-ass lighting, you nailed the angle, you nailed the pose. Now what do you do? So I've been thinking about cohesion in my Instagram feed for a few years, but it wasn't until recently that I found an app that made it really easy. And again, this is not sponsored, but this app called Plan loads your Instagram feed into it, and then you can add photos to see what they would look like on your feed before you go and post the photo. The way I used to do this before was to just save a bunch of drafts in Instagram, and when you go to edit your drafts, it'll show you basically a feed of all the photos. Another thing that I do is occasionally archive an old photo if I posted it and then it ended up not looking great with the feed that I eventually built, but I don't want to completely delete it. I just go in and archive. So that's pretty much it in terms of taking photos and building a feed. The last thing I wanted to touch on was how to have the confidence to ask people to take your photo and how to take photos in public settings. The first thing I might suggest is finding a buddy. Find someone else who's also interested in building their Instagram feed, because I have a lot of friends who I still feel incredibly awkward taking pictures around. I know that they're not as into Instagram, and it makes me feel kind of like shallow and materialistic realistic to want them to take pictures of me. But if you have a friend who understands your struggle, then you guys can go in together and take a lot of photos of each other. You're not gonna feel like you're wasting their time or that they're judging you if they're going for the same thing. In terms of having the confidence to go outside and take photos, this is definitely the hardest one, especially for me living in a big city. I get honked at, I get people catcalling me. I think my main advice there would just be to try to tune everyone out. They don't know you. As hard as that is, you just gotta not give a fuck, because most of those people you're never gonna see again. And if you happen to capture a photo of them, you can blast it all over the internet. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope these tips were helpful. Let me know in the comments what else you want to see. And now that you're following my Instagram, HaleyWalker_, I'm gonna be asking you guys there what you want to see. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you in the next one.